The Arkham Horror LCG has a new leading lady. Lola Hayes makes her YouTube debut on today's TWID. The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the man from Leng. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today is part 2 of my preview of Lola Hayes, one of 6 new investigators who will be released in the Path to Carcosa Deluxe expansion a little bit later this year. Lola is unique among investigators in that she can play cards from all of the classes: Survivor, Guardian, Seeker, Rogue, and Mystic, as well as the neutral cards. So we are going to pit her against one of the scenarios from the Dunwich Legacy cycle, so you have a better idea about how she plays, how you switch roles, which cards you can play when, and whatnot. There are spoilers throughout, so if you care about that sort of thing, you have been warned. So let's get started. We are set up and ready to go here. We have Lola Hayes going up against extracurricular activity. Rather straightforward scenario, but we just want to show off a little bit of what Lola can do here. She has her forced effect, which at the beginning of the game, after you draw your opening hand, you have to choose a role, which is one of the classes: Survivor, Guardian, Seeker, Rogue, or Mystic, or Neutral. And then you can only play, commit, trigger abilities on neutral cards or cards from your role. She has the free trigger, switch your role, limit once per round, and her Elder Sign effect is +2, and she may switch roles. We are going to draw our opening hand and see where we stand. We get an improvisation, which is great, an art student, a machete, another machete, and an emergency aid. Let's get rid of the emergency aid and one of the machetes. Do we keep the art student? That's an interesting question. I think we're going to pitch the art student, and we will draw 3 new cards. There is a perception, there is a magnifying glass, and a preposterous sketches. So let us shuffle those back into the deck. And Lola begins play at the Miskatonic Quad, which is a 3-shroud location with 0 clues, and it has the game text "Resign. We can't find rice anywhere. You leave the campus hoping Armitage will forgive you." So our goal in this game is to try to grab 4 XP. We want to be able to afford one of those shiny new talents from the Blood on the Altar expansion that start in play. The benefit of having one of those when you're playing Lola is that they are permanent, and if you happen to draw a Crisis of Identity, which is Lola's signature weakness, they are not discarded, so they are one of the things that will stay in play. So judging by our hand, we are going to start in play as a Seeker, I think. So we will take the free action on Magnifying Glass in order to play that. We are going to take our first action and spend 2 resources in order to get, we'll play Preposterous Sketches, I believe. So we will drop that. That gets us 3 cards. Oh, we can't play that here because we need clues. My bad. Let's add those back. Alright, so we'll have to wait to play that, but we can play our improvisation, which is fast, and we can switch our roles. So we will switch our role to Guardian, and that enables us to play our next card of that role, reduce its cost by 3, so the machete will come out for free. So that is our first action. We do have the option of switching roles once this turn, which I may want to do. so I can keep the machete safe from Crisis of Identity. That was our first action. If we move and do that, could move to the Humanities building, grab ourselves a clue possibly. We're going to actually draw some cards. First we're going to swap out of the Guardian class. We're going to change our role to Survivor and draw a couple cards here. So as our second action we will draw, there's another machete, and as our third action we will draw a Vicious Blow. Alright, so we're set up for combat, and that will be the end of our turn. So we will draw a card. There's another Perception, and we will gain a resource. We will add a Doom to Quiet Halls and draw an encounter card. Let's see what we get. It is an Arcane Barrier. That is bad news to be on the Miskatonic Quad. That's going to cause all sorts of trouble for us this game. So we will have to work around that. This deck's weakness is her willpower, so it will be a little difficult for Lola to pass this willpower 4 test. So what we will do on our next turn, we will go to if we move to the Oren library, then we could take an action there to grab one of the clues. So we will do that. So when we move, we need to trigger the Arcane Barrier, which is a willpower 4 test. We are a survivor, so I cannot pitch my preposterous sketches to boost that. So we will simply take the test straight up, and we get an Elder Sign. Holy smokes, that was lucky. So she is a 5, and that will not only does she pass the she passes the test and discards the Arcane Barrier, and we can switch roles if we wish. We are a survivor right now, so I'm going to stay as a survivor for the time being. Because we do not... I could switch to Guardian and play the preposterous sketches, but it's going to take us 2 actions in order to investigate at the Oren library. So I will hold off on that for now. The Oren library is a 3-shroud location with 1 clue per investigator. You must spend 1 additional action to investigate the Oren library, and it is worth 1 victory point. So Lola has an intellect of 3. She gets +1 when she investigates from the magnifying glass. Because it is a passive boost, we do not need to trigger it. So we are allowed to use it while we are in the survivor role. So she is at a 4. I'm going to pitch one of my perceptions to give her a 6 versus 3. Let's see how we do. And that is a -2, so she is successful. And that will end her turn, because we had to take 1 action to move there and 2 actions to investigate at the Oren library. We will draw a card. There is Crisis of Identity, and we are a survivor, so that will... It is the revelation. Discard all cards you control of your current role. We are a survivor, so there are none. Then discard the top card of your deck. Switch your role to that class of the discarded card. If the discarded card is a weakness, switch your role to neutral. So we will put that away, and our role is now survivor. So that whiffed. Very nice. That's what we like to see. We will gain a resource and add a Doom to Quiet Halls, and let's see how we do for our encounter card this turn. It is Terror from Beyond. That is the treachery that forces you to choose asset, event, or skill, and you have to discard all cards from of that chosen card type. So we have skill, event, and asset. So we're going to lose something. I'm going to pitch our machete, so that will satisfy that. We are in good shape so far. We can... so what we can do, we are in the survivor role right now. We could switch to... seeker. So let's, first of all, what we're going to do on our turn, we're going to move to the Humanities building. We'll flip that over. It is a 3-shroud location with 2 clues per investigator. And at the end of your turn, if you are in the Humanities building, discard the top X cards of your deck, where X is the amount of horror on you. We have no horror right now, so that is not going to be an issue. That is our first action. We can switch to the to the Seeker role, I think, so we can play our Preposterous Sketches for 2 resources and draw ourselves 3 cards. There is an Improvisation, an Art Student, and another Magnifying Glass. That is extremely good news. So that was our second action. As our third action, we can play the Art Student for 2 resources, because we are still a Seeker. And when the Art Student enters play, we discover 1 clue at our location. So we will grab a clue there. So far, it's nice to see that second improvisation in case we draw our Leo DeLuca later, so we can drop him down for 3 instead of 6 resources. That is going to be the end of our turn. We will draw a card, which is a Fire Axe, and gain a resource. We will add 1 doom to our agenda and draw an encounter card, which is a locked door. It will go on the Humanities building. So we will have to somehow break that down. That is not going to be easy for Lola at a 4 at a 4 strength or 4 agility. That's going to be fairly difficult for her to break. She does have... We are a Seeker, so we would need to switch roles into something. We could pitch our Improvisation to break it down, or we could simply move to the Science building and hope that we can grab a clue there, rather than try to break down the door. So I think we'll do that. We're going to move 1, 2 over to the Science building. It is a 2-shroud location with 1 clue per investigator, and after the Science building is replayed, put the set-aside Alchemy Labs into play, so we will go get those now. And our Alchemy Labs are right there. And there is 1 clue there, and it says when you fail a willpower test in the Science building, take 1 damage. So we don't have to worry about that quite yet. We moved 1, 2, so we can do a test, an investigate test. Lola is a 4 versus the 2. I am going to save the... did we forget to draw a card for that perception? I bet we did. I bet we did. Yes, we did. Alright, so we're going to draw an extra card here. There's another art student. All right, we're back on track here. We're going to pitch another perception, so we will make that a 6 versus 2. That is a skull. That is a -1, so we will succeed and grab that clue. And we will draw a card for perception, which is a look what I found. All right, that's going to end our turn. We are a seeker still. We do have the option to switch out of that. I think we're going to switch to survivor, so we don't necessarily lose our magnifying glass or our art student. If we happen to draw a crisis of identity, we will draw a card, which is the newspaper, and gain a resource. Let's add a doom, 2 quiet hulls, and draw an encounter card. It is Visions of Future Past. Test 5. Willpower. For each point you fail by, you need to discard the top card of your deck. And since we are at the science building, if we fail a willpower test, we are going to take a damage. So let's see what we do here. I don't have anything to pitch to that, so it's going to be a 5 versus 3. It's a 5 versus 2, so we need to discard 3 cards. There is our other copy of Crisis of Identity. That's nice to see go. There is our other weakness, Haunted, and a Kukri. So that was actually a fairly good deal. We can take a damage. I think I'm going to dump that onto the art student. And she will die. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. This is an interesting situation now. We both copies of Crisis of Identity have passed, so we don't have to worry about those anymore. So our when we are trying to decide what role to play, we don't have to worry about that so much. So we are going to... We can advance the act, so we are going to do that first of all. To Act 2, or Act 1B, which we need to shuffle the encounter discard pile and the set aside Jazz Mulligan into the encounter deck. So we will do that right now. We will shuffle these cards back into the encounter deck, as well as this annoying arcane barrier. And we will find Jazz Mulligan. And there is Jazz. We will shuffle Jazz into the deck. And now our goal is to find Jazz and open the doors to the dormitory as well as the faculty offices. And we do that by spending 1 clue to discard the top 5 cards of the encounter deck, top 10 instead if there is 1 player in the game. So we are going to move to the Students' Union building. It is a 1-shroud location with 2 clues. And after the Students' Union is revealed, you put the set-aside dormitories into play. So we will do that now. There are the dormitories. And it has the double action, heal a damage, and a horror. We don't need to do that quite yet. We are a survivor, so we could switch to seeker and play our art student and grab a clue, or we can just try to grab a clue straight up with our magnifying glass. We are a 4 intellect while investigating, so we will do that now. That is -2, so we are successful. Alright, we are going to switch our role to, I believe, Seeker. We will switch roles to Seeker using Lola's free trigger at the end of our turn. We will draw a card. There is a Kukri and gain a resource. Let us add a Doom and draw an encounter card. There are the whippoorwills, our favorite birds. Alrighty. So they are fairly irritating. But we are in a pretty good position to deal with them. We do have our machete out. So in order to do this, we are going to have to, we are a seeker, so we would have to switch. If we want to use our machete, we're going to have to switch to Guardian first of all. So let's do that. We'll switch to Guardian. We will engage the whippoorwills, and then we will attack them as our second action. So Lola is a 3. She's a 2 because of the whippoorwills, but she's a 3 because she has the machete. So it's a 3-2. We will pitch the Kukri to make it a 4-2. Because we are a Guardian, we cannot pitch the Fire Axe if we wanted to. I'm going to save the Vicious Blow for later. Let's see how we do. That's a -3, so that will be a failure. Or sorry, was that a 3, 4, 5, 4? Yeah, that was a 4-2, so that is a failure. All right, we will, I guess we will attack them again, and that will be a 3 versus 2. Because of the whippoorwill's effect. And that is an Elder Sign. So that is a +2. So the whippoorwills will die. And we can switch roles using Lola's Elder Sign effect. We can switch into Seeker. So we can play our art student next turn. And we will hang out there for now. That was our turn. So we will draw a card. There is the laboratory assistant. That's another interesting option to consider and gain a resource. We will add a Doom and draw an encounter card, which is a Thrall. Spawn at the location with the most clues. Well, there is one clue here. And there is one clue here, so I'm going to spawn the Thrall over here at the Humanities building. Nice to see him go. Alright, we do have we are a seeker, so we can drop our art student for 2 resources. And we can grab this clue. Alright, so now let's see if we can find Jazz. We will need to take our second action. We will pitch a clue to discard the top 10 cards of the deck. Let's see how we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No Jazz there. We will use our second clue. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we saw a lot of Beyond the Veils go, but we didn't see Jazz Mulligan in that mix. So we are going to have to go find ourselves another clue, which could change how we go about this. We do have the 1 VP already. We could probably grab a couple more. We may not be able to get the 4. It might be a bit difficult to run back to the dormitories. So that will end our turn. We will draw a card, which is an emergency cache, and gain a resource. Our agenda is going to flip. Whoops. We will add a doom and flip to agenda 1B. Each investigator with 5 or more cards in his or her discard pile takes 1 horror. Each investigator with 10 or more cards in his discard pile takes 2 horror instead. I think the art student will be suitably horrified by that, and she will go away. So that puts us on agenda 2B, or sorry, 2A, which is each investigator's maximum hand size is reduced by 3 while checking his or her hand size during the upkeep phase. So we have a hand size of 8, so we are going to be going down to 5. And we are a seeker still. We will draw an encounter card, which is another Visions of Futures Past. Test 5 willpower. We have a 3. So let's just do it straight up. That is takes us down to a 1 versus 5, so we will have to discard 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we lost our Leo, which I was hoping to draw so we could get him out on the table and get ourselves an extra action. That is okay. We do have the option of playing our laboratory assistant to draw 2 cards and increasing our maximum hand size by 2, which would somewhat counteract the dead of night. So that would be good. So we are going to do that now as our first action. So we are a seeker, so we will pay 2 to play the laboratory assistant, and when she enters play we can draw 2 cards. There is a vicious blow and another laboratory assistant. So we are probably going to be discarding some cards here. We will move 1, 2 to the administration building, and we'll flip that over. It is a 4-shroud location with 1 clue, and it has the forced effect to put the faculty offices into play. So we will do that now. And at the end of your turn, if you're in the administration building, discard the top card of your deck. All right, we are in the administration building at the end of our turn. So we will discard the top card of our deck, which is an Unexpected Courage. We are going to draw a card and gain a resource. There is an emergency cache. Now we have to discard down quite a bit. We are at 10 cards. The laboratory assistant gives us gives us 2, so that's a 10, but we have to do -3 because of Dead of Night, which is 7. So we are going to have to discard 3 cards. I am going to pitch the Fire Axe, one of the emergency caches, and that's a good question. Which is the 3rd card do we pitch? Maybe the laboratory assistant, since we have almost drawn through our deck. Now, did we did discard 1 for the administration building. All right, so we will add a Doom and draw an encounter card. There is a Thrall again, and we have again a tie. Most clues, the Thrall can go hang out at the administration, at the Humanities building with the other Thrall. All right, that is going to put us, now we could switch roles here to Survivor, which would enable us to play this Look What I Found should we fail this skill test, which is probably not a bad idea. We could also play the newspaper. So if we do that, let's play the newspaper first. So we'll switch to Survivor, we'll play the newspaper, which will give us +2 investigating while we have no clues. So Lola will be at a 3 + 1 + 2, so she is a 6 investigate, or 6 intellect for this investigate test, versus 4. And she gets a -1, so we succeed. So that was her second action. As her third action, we can pitch this clue and discard the top 10 cards, which is going to be everybody. Where was Jazz? Jazz was way down there. So basically we end up discarding all the cards and reshuffling the deck. Can't forget about this one up here. We'll shuffle that into the deck. All right, so we advance our act when we take control of Jazz Mulligan. So we don't have to worry about that at the moment. We are a survivor this turn. And it is time, I believe, to draw a card and gain a resource. Let's add a doom. We do have, it's nice the laboratory assistant's static maximum hand size is still in effect. So that's a 9, -3. Did we have to go down to 6 last turn? 8, 10, -3 is 7. No, we're fine. We have 7 cards in our hands, so we are just fine. Alright, we will add a doom to Dead of Night and draw an encounter card, which is the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. So he is going to hang out in the with us here at the admin bill, at the oh, I did have to discard a card for the administration building, can't forget that. And the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth will engage us. He is a 4 combat, he has 4 fight, 3 health, and 3 agility, and a hunter. He engages, his prey is the character with the least cards in play. When an engaged investigator draws a hex or pact card, he attacks the investigator. He is worth 1 victory point, and he does 1 health and 2 stamina, or 2 sanity damage. We are a survivor. That is not going to do us any good against the wizard, so we are going to use Lola's free trigger to switch our role back to Guardian so we can fight this Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. We are going to pitch our Vicious Blow for 1. So she is a 4/5. I think we're going to pitch our Improvisation 6/7 and our other Vicious Blow. So we've pitched 4 and we were at 4, so we are an 8 versus 4. Let's see how we do. There is an Elder Sign, so that is a +2, so we easily kill the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. We will add him to our victory display. Now we need to get Jazz Mulligan somehow. We need to do a test 3. Because we had that Elder Sign, we can switch roles due to Lola's special ability. So I'm going to switch back to Survivor, because I want to be able to pitch this look what I found to the Jazz Mulligan test. So we will do that now. So that was our first action. Second action, we will pitch, wrong card. We will pitch the look what I found to give Lola a 5 versus 3 for her test. To parlay with Jazz Mulligan. Let's see how we do on that one. That's a -3, so we do take control of Jazz Mulligan, and we will advance our act because we have taken control of him. So if the Alchemy Labs location is not in play, we put it into play. It is already there. If you are on Agenda 1 or 2, spawn the set-aside experiment in the Alchemy Labs. So the experiment will come to the Alchemy Labs, and we place the alchemical concoction out of play because this is the first scenario we are playing. All right, that was our second action. So our third action, we could move into the faculty offices. When we do move into the faculty offices, we're going to have to grab ourselves another enemy, I believe. So we will do that now. We can always grab ourselves a thrall. Let's flip that over. It is a 2-shroud location with 2 clues. After faculty office is revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a humanoid enemy and spawn it here. Shuffle the encounter deck. So we will look for a humanoid enemy, which will be a thrall if we can find one. There is a thrall. And the thrall will engage us. And it says if investigators in the faculty offices spend 2 clues as a group, we get R1. So that is going to be our win condition here. So far we've picked up 2 XP from 1 from the Oren library and 1 from killing the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth. Our agenda is going to advance this turn, which is going to move the experiment to the science building. We have to deal with an attack from the thrall. It is going to do 1 health and 1 sanity, so we can lose the laboratory assistant. She will take the damage. All right. So we do get our newspaper bonus next turn, which is nice to see. So we have to kill the thrall and gain 2 clues. So we will draw a card, and there is a look what I found. That's pretty tempting. And we will gain a resource. We are, I believe, a survivor, if I remember correctly, because we needed that. We pitched, yes, we pitched the last look what I found to get Jazz Mulligan. So we are a survivor. We will add a doom and draw ourselves an encounter card, which is an Eager for Death. Test 2 willpower. Increase the skill test's difficulty by 1 for each damage on you. I have suffered no damage, and if I fail, I take 2 horror. I'm a 3 versus 2. That is an elder, or that is the tentacle, our first of the game, so that will be a failure, and I will take 2 horror. No problem. All right, we can switch to Guardian if we need to. in order to deal with this thrall. Our static boost from the newspaper and the magnifying glass will help us just fine. So we will switch to Guardian, I believe, and Lola has a 3-4 versus 2 for the Thrall, and the Thrall has Retaliate. We don't have any cards we can pitch, so it's just going to be a 4 versus 2. That is a skull, that's a -1, so that is a success. This Thrall will die. We've used Lola's special free trigger this round, so she is a Guardian for the rest of this turn. But that is okay, because what we can do, we have 2 actions left. We can investigate, so she will be a 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 2 as her first one. And that is a cultist, which is a -3, but we easily pass that. So we will grab that clue. And as our third action this turn, we are still a Guardian. So she will be a 3, 4, and we can pitch this emergency aid to make her a 5 versus 3. And there is another Elder Sign, so we will grab that final clue. We forgot to advance our agenda, but that's not going to affect the game very much. I believe all it does is move the experiment 1 location towards the dormitories. And so that is fine. Lola grabs the final clue, so we can spend the 2 clues in order to end the scenario and gain R1. So our victory point total stands at 3 for this game. So overall, I'm happy with that. The deck played very well. We got our magnifying glass and our machete out right at the beginning of the game, which is key. As I mentioned in part 1 of this 2-part series, I think this deck suffers a little bit from lacking a willpower icons. We got extremely lucky right off the bat when we were able to clear that arcane barrier on the Miskatonic Quad. Otherwise, we probably would have decked ourselves having to go through that location as many times as we did, because it does trigger when you enter and exit a location. We also got very lucky that both of our weaknesses were discarded. 2 of our weaknesses were discarded. The Haunted and the Crisis of Identity were discarded by the Visions of Future Past, so we can't complain about that. You can see how the switching roles mechanic works here. It's nice to have these cards that offer you, like the magnifying glass and the newspaper, that offer you these static boosts. You sort of need to do some pre-planning when you are doing your turn, so you can be in the right role. I got lucky in that I drew quite a few Elder Signs that I was able to switch into roles as necessary, particularly when I killed the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth, and then was able to quickly use that Elder Sign to switch into Survivor, so I could use the Look What I Found to boost the parlay test for Jazz Mulligan. So that is going to do it for this example of how Lola Hayes plays. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that when Lola Hayes is released that you will take a look at her and build some decks and play with her, because I think she's a very fun investigator to play. The switching roles mechanic is very exciting and very interesting, and I will hope you will take the time to give her a chance. That's going to do it for me today. If you enjoyed this playthrough, I'd appreciate it if you could leave me a thumbs up. If you notice that I made any mistakes, or you just want to chat about this great game, please leave a comment down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to be notified of when I release future content. If you'd like to drop me a line, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.